Thank you for your patience during little technical difficulties there. Thank you for working for all your help. I am Mrs. Smith, the Director of School Counseling here in Berners Township. I am new this year, so I've been here for about 9 months. And I thank you so much for a warm welcome to this community. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me today. So for this presentation, I will give you the overview of the school counseling program. It's my pleasure to work closely with Ms. Townsend here at Oak Street, along with all the other elementary programs. So since we're here in the elementary school, what I thought I would do as part of the presentation is to zoom in on some of the material that was shared during the Trends in Mental Health presentation on Monday night that we spoke about, specific to the elementary counseling program. So first, who are we? The review of staffing in the counseling department. We have 4 school counselors, 1 at each elementary school. We have 7 school counseling professionals at the middle school, 4.5 are school counselors, and 2.5 are student assistance counselors. So any of your 5th graders, if it's your first time going to the middle school, there's another professional resource available to you in the SAC position, the student assistance counselor. So that position specializes in more of the mental health and substance use and abuse part of the job. So it's an additional resource staffed with 2.5 people at the middle level. At the high school, there are 8 school counselors and 2 full-time SAC positions as well. What I've done here on the slide is I've linked for you. I'll send out the presentation, but if you're interested in learning more about the position and exactly what it entails, I've linked some further details for you. But basically, the role of the school counselor is you're really handling the social and emotional, as well as the academic and the post-secondary planning for all of our kids. And so the benefit of it, and what makes it, what I think, the best job ever, is that you really can be involved in every facet of a kid's life. And so you're able to have an impact and work with them directly to get them into a place where they're ready for learning, and then also help them with their future and making some of the most important decisions about where they want to go from here. So it does all start at the elementary level. There's a lot of work at the elementary level developmentally related to their social and emotional well-being and building up really strong character. So for me, in terms of what is new in school counseling, obviously I am probably the biggest part of what's new in school counseling in Berners Township. And so part of that, obviously this year for me, is getting to know the people and the program, what drives the work, the community, and the kids, most importantly. And so part of what has helped inform me about the program is a program evaluation. So here in Berners Township, each program will go through a full program evaluation every 5 years, I believe. And so the last one that was done for school counseling was in the 2015-16 year. And so I use that to help inform, myself about the program and some, meaningful decisions moving forward. I use that document to also talk with each of the grade level staff members who we just spoke about, elementary, middle, and high school as well. What we're also doing is really putting a focus towards aligning with our national model here. So I won't get into too much detail with that, but there is a national model for school counseling, and so part of the work that we're doing, and what I'll show you in some of the data from the presentation on Monday night, is really reflective of that. So being really intentional, preventative, proactive, looking at the curriculum that we're using with our kids, particularly at the elementary school level. The curriculum takes up a lot of time with the counseling program. So that's really what's new. Just getting to know each other, getting to establish a new mission, a vision for the K-12 counseling program, and then really coming together as a team unit and deciding where we want to go from here and what our goals are. So part of that is taking a look at our delivery services. So I've explained how the delivery services of a counselor are really 3 different general buckets, if you will. So it's your core curriculum, your classroom lessons related to social emotional learning and academic success and readiness. And then also group counseling. So if a professional counselor knows or sees certain trends or has a group of students who all could benefit from some version of a group together to build connectedness, build relationships, and work on certain skills, then a counselor will pull together what's typically like a lunch bunch. These are optional for students to join, and they're counselor, again, based on the needs of the kids. So we have the broad-based curriculum, the smaller groups, and then of course individual counseling as needed. A lot of the work that a counselor will do throughout the day are what we call responsive services, and so responding to anything that happens to come through the door. No day is alike. It's part of the joy of the job, and the best laid plans can be put aside for just depending on what's happening in the building. Counselors also work very closely with the administrators in the building to help support the overall school mission and the programs that are going on, what the principal's vision is for the school. A counselor is an integral part of helping to make specific programming happen to meet those goals and what the kids need, really. And so just having that safe space to talk is part of it, and part of the privilege of the job, really. Indirect services, counselors work very closely as collaborators with community agencies, partnering with the right people so that when we talk about programming, we can be intentional and have relationships with people in the community, with our PTOs, with our parents, therapeutic agencies, whatever is needed. A counselor's role is to really make those connections so that if a child needs anything, then a counselor knows the right way to refer a student and where to refer them as well. Counselors also play a role in the different services within the school as it relates to 504s, INRS, referrals from teachers for behavior and the attendance concerns. So they really have an impact on everything in the building. So I've mentioned the role within social and emotional learning. And so what I've done here is linked 3 presentations to the board that Robin was speaking about a few moments ago. And so if you'd like, you can check those out. But basically, bless you. Our district goal of focusing on social and emotional learning, professional development on that issue for staff, how do we really bring that to life? And what's the counseling role in that? So obviously we all own this, right? Social emotional learning, it just impacts every area. Like you were saying in the beginning, there are academic decisions and curricular decisions that relate directly to this, that impact our kids. But the counseling piece of it, is definitely highly involved. And so these 3 presentations were updates that were provided to the Board of Ed throughout the year. So the most recent one was Monday night. And that presentation focused on the trends in mental health. And so through all the work that I've just broadly explained to you, it begs the question, what's going on with the kids? What are the trends that counselors are seeing of students who walk through the door? And how do they relate to supporting that district goal of number 2? So I'll go through, like I said, I've extracted the elementary specific information for the purposes of this audience. But you can see on the board that, who the counselors serve, the kids. You can see that the caseloads are up on the screen. And so, like I said, this counselor is here at Oak Street. And one school counselor is per every elementary school as well. The graph represents all the students that they serve, and they're responsible for the students in grades K through 5. What is a typical snapshot of a typical week of a school counselor? Again, this could vary for every week, but on average, most of their time is spent with dealing with responsive services. So anything that the kids might want to see their counselor about, referrals from teachers, administrators, parents, and conversations that come up during the day where a counselor will need to check in with a student. After that, the curriculum lessons that counselors do are a huge part of the job. And so here, especially working on the habits, on the character development, it's a big part of the mission of the school. And so I know that there was just a comprehensive assembly that went on that spoke directly to that out of the counseling office as well. Individual student planning and group counseling, and then, like I said, those indirect services, partnering with the right people to make sure that our program can flourish. So groups, I mentioned groups. At the elementary level, each school counselor will run about 20 groups throughout the year. And so what are these groups about? They can range from anything related to just social skills, developing friendships with one another, empathy building, if students are going through a particular issue in their lives where it's helpful to connect with other people and to just talk about that, a counselor will be together to say, hey, let's work on some of our coping skills together. Or here's a group of students who are all going through something, similar, like losing someone in their life, and they might need a place and space to talk. And so a counselor will convene a council group. Always optional, it's highly collaborative with parents, of course, that you want your children to meet with a counselor during lunch. But on average, for counseling every year, they'll have about 20 different groups. On average, about 6 kids per group, and so you can see the impact that they have on their students. That would be about a total district-wide of 80 groups. The number of kids per counselors was on in that way. And overall, across the district, it's almost 500 kids who are serviced only at the elementary level for group counseling. So it's definitely an important part of the overall program, and what counselors do, particularly at this level. So I mentioned the classroom lessons, and I'm very excited about this part because when I first met the counselors at the elementary level and we convened for our meetings, the loudest thing that they said, I think, was our curriculum. They're very passionate. I've seen a ton of their lessons already. They're excellent, and they range from anything related to, again, academic, readiness and skill building, and then all of the social and emotional topics as well. So emotional regulation, self-awareness, relationship skills, social skills. The lessons vary, and sometimes the counselors too will have ad hoc lessons. If a teacher will come to you and say, listen, there's an issue going on in my class, there's kind of, maybe a bullying situation, can you come on in and just talk about it with them? So lessons are ad hoc in nature that way as well, depending on the need. You're all so nice, your faces didn't even change, I didn't know. Sorry, Rich, ruined the spot. So the lessons, you can see on the screen that we have, quantified those lessons in a way just to look as a group, how many lessons, and this is just an average because it really depends on each school, but how many lessons per grade level. So you can see the graph there. A total on average for each of the 4 counselors is about 75 lessons. Sometimes too there are special projects, like at some of the schools there was a special unit on social and emotional skill building where they did about 100 lessons in addition to the 75, and they were mini lessons as part of a unit. And so it's definitely a huge piece. It gives the counselor the ability to have FaceTime with all of their kids as well. So you can see on the graph that at the lower levels, it's about an equal amount of time, and then as the kids get older, then they're increasing their amount of time in the classroom to prepare them for the transition to middle school. So that being said, an exciting project that we're working on this summer is curriculum writing for that elementary curriculum. And so the 4 school counselors will come together in the summer and write the curriculum. So updating, based on the national model that I mentioned, updating based on those standards, the student competencies, nationwide will align all of that with NJ competencies, and so it's really will be a refresh, and we'll have a new curriculum based out of counseling. Some other additional curriculum updates for you. This past summer, the student assistance counselors, so the SACs at the middle level, they redid the curriculum in collaboration with the health department for social emotional learning. And so the SACs and the health teachers at the middle school level, they partnered together and they rewrote their curriculum last summer. So seeing those lessons this year related to sexual harassment, substance use and abuse, and social emotional topics that are necessary to cover from the counseling side. Particularly also I'll mention suicide prevention and empathy building as well. So obviously your kiddos, when they get to the middle school, will be a part of that new curriculum at the middle school level. Moving forward, I know Mr. Shaw will cover that also coming up this summer. There are some plans and really kind of exploring plans at this point for curriculum writing at the high school level. So again, at the elementary level, we're excited this summer to update our curriculum. So additional areas of just the work of the counseling department. We tried to zoom into elementary for you today, but kind of zooming back out K through 12, especially as your kids are older and particularly onto the high school level, what else is part of the counseling program? And so we are really underway with our Genesis implementation in collaboration with the curriculum office, and so it's very exciting to be a part of the change of the new student information system. It was mentioned earlier about the rotating drop schedule and really exploring some different long-term options there at the high school, and so just master scheduling in general is a huge part of the work. There's some BP testing. I also linked in post-secondary report, and so obviously when your kids get to the high school level their post-secondary plans for after high school, it's a large part of the work that's done in counseling. And so preparing them for that next step, whatever that next step may be and might look like for them. And so, you know, the post-secondary report, if you want to look at that, you can see some data, some trends of students matriculating onto colleges, where they're going, where they're likely to apply, and what's current in that field of college admissions. Also, home instruction, scholarships, special programs, and also in collaboration with the curriculum office, everything related to academic planning. So our community bundle that went out, the William Annan program of studies, the Ridge program of studies, all of the various different processes related to academic planning are a collaboration with the curriculum office and the counseling office as well. And that is a wrap for counseling. So I think we'll take questions at the end probably. And with no further ado, I'll hand the clicker over to Mr. Scheller.
All right, good morning. My name is Rich Shello, and unlike Mrs. Smith, who's in her 9th month here serving the district, I'm in my 21st year. So 21 years as the Director of Athletics and Supervisor of Health and Physical Education, so I kind of have dual roles in my position. And for me, it's been a labor of love because it's an area that kids, you know, are motivated and want to be there. I watched an elementary physical education class here the other day, and as the kids were going out, I said to them, so what's your favorite class? And this is 3rd graders, I believe it. This one. Good, that's the answer I like to hear. And I think many of us can agree with that. So on that, I thought that since the teachers and administrators here are dressed ready for activity, that we would go out and start with about a 10-lap run if you're up for that. Not so much, huh? Okay, very good. Right, okay. So we have a mission and vision within our physical education program. We have a broad mission, and I've kind of broken it up here. First in the area of phys ed, and if I can encapsulate it in one quick thing, is we want our kids to appreciate physical activity and learn to be lifelong active people. That's the biggest thing. We talked about today, you know, the business of adult fitness and all the things that are out there in the gyms and the yoga studios and everything else. And I know I come in here on a Saturday morning for events at the high school, and I see bicycling groups, and I see joggers, and I see all this, and that's a wonderful thing. And that's what we really want our kids to appreciate and to understand and value. In health education, our goal is really to give the kids the information and to help them to assimilate it, be able to adapt, to integrate it, to make good, healthy decisions for the rest of their life. And that's in all areas, whether it's drugs, alcohol, mental health, personal fitness, all of these things. We like to say in the model of teaching the whole child, so much time and energy is spent on the academic side, but what are we doing for the physical and psychomotor side? So we feel this is a very important piece. You know, originally when I was coming out with a phys ed degree, corporate fitness was a big booming thing, and when they talked about, you know, what's the value of having a business, spending so much money on an executive who might have to leave work at 45 years old due to health reasons. So teaching people to value that is, again, our most important goal, and certainly is our vision. All right, physical education domains in your physical education classes. This is really from Physical Education Instruction 101, but it's, we deal primarily with the first three domains. The fourth one is an offshoot of affective domain. So the affective domain is outcomes based on how students feel. How do they feel about themselves, their fitness level, comparison to others, about activities they've done. We want kids to feel good about themselves. So that's a very important goal for us. The cognitive side, outcomes based on knowledge. Whether maybe it's a sport unit, how to perform skills, what are the rules of the game, what are the components of physical fitness, how do I train cardiovascular exercise versus muscular strength or endurance exercise, things of that nature. Psychomotor is the physical piece, actually being and doing it. And then the last one, social responsibility. This really is an offshoot of the affective domain. It's outcomes based on responsibilities to others. In a group, did I cooperate, work well with others? Was I a good teammate? Did I demonstrate good sportsmanship? Was I humble when losing and accepting, or humble when winning and accepting when losing? Those types of things. You know, as someone who's also been involved in coaching athletics before becoming athletic director here, those parts of things on the affective side were always a big, important piece to me, not just the winning and losing. Don't get me wrong, we like to win, but it's not the all-encompassing goal. All right, so an elementary physical education program, K to 5, where your children are now, in New Jersey, all students have to receive 150 minutes per week of health and or physical education. Typically here, it would be 2 50-minute classes of physical education at the elementary level and 50 minutes of health instruction in the classroom. Our physical education program, which has been updated recently, these are pretty much the 6 units that are done across over the course of the year. Same for every grade level, but all done age appropriate. So there's different activities and things within the curriculum. All right, elementary health education. How many of you are familiar with the Great Body Shop? Kids talk about it at all? Not much. I know, Mike, I have 3. My youngest is a junior in college, and you still ask, how was school today? Great. And then don't get those answers. But if you can, it's a good thing. There's a lot of great topics in here. It's a comprehensive evidence-based program, a purchase program that we subscribe to, and it is taught by the classroom teachers. Again, these are the units of instruction in the Great Body Shop. They're the same for all grade levels, but again, differentiated by grade level appropriateness. So personal safety, nutrition, systems of the body, human development, emotions, feelings, communication. It's amazing, you know, SEL, we talk about that so much now. We're doing this already at the elementary level in health classes. Drugs, alcohol, tobacco, disease and illness. We also have an adaptive physical education program. We have 2 teachers dedicated to this program. This is for students with special needs who are unable to participate in a regular physical education program. It's individually based. Students have, within their IEPs and things, they are given work to do in class toward their goals on their IEP. Quite often, the students in these classes will have an instructional aid with them, recording data and that nature, while the adaptive physical education teacher leads the entire class. In addition, there are a few teachers in the district that pitch in and also teach some of the adaptive classes, especially at the elementary level. Okay, the William Annan Physical Education Program. At William Annan, we become more team sport oriented, or I shouldn't say team sport oriented, whether it's individual based or team based. That's a large part of the curriculum there. The idea here to take all the skills that they worked on in developing at the elementary level and applying them into more team-based or sport-based activities. And it's a challenge in one regard is that, like any community, we have kids who are heavily involved in specific sports and travel levels, and other kids with no experience. And we're trying to, through differentiation, work with those kids all to get them to improve as much as possible. Also spend time in movement and rhythm. Anybody know Sarah Demaray? It's a couple teachers. Sarah is the head of the Square Nation. She absolutely loves it. That is her thing. So you're all saying, I remember having to do that in high school. It's really impressive to see. They do a great job with it. Fitness and wellness is, again, that's infused in all of our physical education activities, for sure. But there are specific units as well at William Anning, as well as cooperative activities and lifetime activities. William Anning Health Education. This past year, we moved from 2 of the grades being 6-week units, they call them cycles there, to full market period, because the curriculum has just become packed. It seems every year there are new things coming on. A couple of years ago, we have this, we've all become about the crisis with opioids. Suicide prevention has become a critical issue in the district, and I shouldn't say in the district only, in society. Social emotional learning in the past year. So we continue to increase information that needs to be presented. And you see, it's a packed curriculum. We did add also, you can see on the bottom right, suicide prevention, the SOS program, Signs of Suicide program. That is an evidence-based program that's delivered at the middle school between the SACs and the health teachers. And it's been very, very well received. Even at the middle school level, alarmingly, we've had kids' response coming, I need to speak to a counselor. And part of this program is to do some screening. There's questionnaires to say, to explore that with kids. And it's really, really scary. When I grew up, that was never an issue. Hopefully for many of you it wasn't either. But it's a real thing in society today. All right, Ridge Physical Education Program. At the high school, again, it's 150 minutes a week. In our freshman year, very first market period, we do an adventure-based education program called Project Adventure. If you've been in any type of leadership training, it's the cooperative games, activities, escalating or progressing to the high ropes elements and climbing and all that, we have that. We got that through a grant a number of years ago. Of course, if you've ever been to the football stadium, you see the telephone poles back there. That's what that is. And it's an awesome program for these kids to overcome fears, face challenges, work cooperatively with one another. It assimilates them into the high school. Part of that is a peer leadership program in which upperclassmen, juniors, seniors, serve as peer leaders in those classes. And we like this because as 9th graders come into high school, it can be intimidating. And now they get the chance to work closer with juniors and seniors and feel part of the school culture. So we really like this. We think it's a great way for them to start their freshman year. We're looking at developing ways to revisit this going on in the future. Obviously, fitness is becoming more and more, we're starting to move away from the sport model in the high school more into a fitness wellness area. So that's certainly a big part of it. You see wellness and mindfulness. I've got several great teachers teaching yoga activities. Nothing better than seeing Tim Howard, who played offensive tackle at the University of Maryland and is about 6'6" and close to 300 pounds fit, leading a yoga class and as flexible as he is, and it gets buy-in right away. Because initially some of the boys are like, that's really not for me. And then they see him do that, and it's like, wow, it's an eye-opener. So, the other piece of mindfulness, I saw a health class the other day at the high school, and the teacher started the lesson. Anybody here practice meditation, yoga? No, I've heard a few. Start the class. Lights down, soft music played, and just taking them through a 2-minute mindfulness exercise of Just take all the stresses from the day away. We're going to focus on what we're doing here today. I'm sitting here going, this is great. I'm nice and relaxed, you know, and I think the kids felt that too. We kind of focused them in on the activity for the day. We do still include team sports and individual sports, lifetime activities, and leisure time activities. Again, excuse me, again, back to our goal of trying to get kids to be lifelong participants in activities, physical fitness. Here, this is a summary of the Ridge Health Education Program. This is 4 years right now, 1 marking period, presently per grade level. Again, it's a packed program. The suicide prevention does include the SOS program that's in the middle school also. There's a separate program for the high school that we subscribe to. And the big one for everybody, sophomore year, driver education. Now you have elementary students, now you're not worried about that yet, but believe me, as a parent of 3, that's a big stressor when they get to high school and they start to drive. So, but I will say, at the high school level, it's probably most students' favorite class. They want to get that permit and eventually their license. So what's next? What's happening in health and phys ed in the district? We'll be conducting health program evaluations in the coming summer. Again, looking at some of the things we've implemented the last couple of years, and probably having an emphasis more on student stress, wellness, social emotional learning. That will be, the training will be looking at that. Just came down the pike this past week. Sexual consent instruction. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. It's just come out from the state that this is going to have to be implemented into curriculum next year. We have a potential change in our grade 10 instruction. That's driver ed. And the reason being, the students will go almost 2 years without any instruction in health-related topics from the freshman year, which is in the 4th marking period, to the junior year in the 3rd marking period. We realized that the prominently health they're getting in 10th grade, which is a critical year for kids' development, is driver education. So we'll be looking to expand 3 weeks in addition to the 1st marking period on health-related topics, which will probably include social emotional learning, suicide prevention, drug, alcohol education. Drug, alcohol, and tobacco education is mandatory annually, starting at the lowest levels, and it's something that we've worked hard to educate our kids in this area. And lastly, I think we're going to do some professional development for our staff in the teaching of these sensitive areas. I tell you, I go in these classes now, and I've been administrator for 21 years, haven't been in a classroom as a teacher per se, and what our teachers are having to teach, and the heaviness, the depth that these topics are. When you're talking about, drug use and addiction, we're not talking about learn the categories of drugs. What are the symptoms of the drugs? That's the stuff that we got in high school. But what are the impacts and things? What does it feel like? Bringing speakers in. We just had speakers, actually graduates of the high school, reformed alcoholics, speaking about their trials and tribulations. It's just gut-wrenching. To hear them talk about suicide prevention, it's heavy stuff, and so I want to get them as much training as possible, because it's certainly very sensitive, and it can be sensitive, not knowing the family history of every student in your class. All right, so in summary, the overall program of our department is to promote the development of the whole child, the self-support. I think you can read that. That's taken over from our general mission statement. But again, it's really encompasses the entire child. Okay. Questions? Anybody? Questions for Mrs. Smith?
At what point, I think it's the counseling side, at what point do you bring the parents in? And I mean, there's something important about the students having the relationship with you separate from the parents, or they have some place to go that's confidential from the parent. At what point do you bring the parent in? It becomes a concern. It becomes a red flag. How do you decide?
That's a great question. So I think that there's no one answer for that. I think it really depends on the child, that relationship, some of the history, and whatever the issue is at hand. And so, if it's something that is serious, it really would be, something that you would want to maybe call a parent about and start that relationship as a counselor with a parent. So it's hard to answer with like a specific timeline, but it really just depends, but it's definitely the relationship with a parent, it's something that's concerning is critical. And so a counselor will definitely make the call when they feel like it's the right time.
Nobody taking me up on the 5-lap run?
That was a good word, kindergartners are out there now.
Oh, all right. Well, you're loving it, right?
Speaking of kindergartners and runs, we are going to have about 60 plus of them entering about 3 minutes for lunch.
Understood.
Thank you, Rich. So, I love this.